Hi everyone, I'm Mira Frisch. I teach cello at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and I'm at D'Addario today. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to play with your full bow. Now, you are most likely in private lessons with a wonderful teacher or in a wonderful orchestra program at your school, and your teachers may do things in slightly different orders than me, and that's totally cool. You should absolutely practice whatever your teacher is telling you to. I happen, as you know from my previous videos, to teach my private cello students to play with very short bows in the lower half of the bow first, so they can practice really getting their arm weight in the string at the frog and at the balance point. And I teach them to play with a wiggle in the beginning between each note to make sure that their arm weight is in the string. But later on, I want my students to play with their full bows and to play with a more legato bow stroke. And it may be that you're doing that from the very beginning, and so you will be finding this video helpful at an earlier stage. So we're going to talk about the relationship between the arm and the elbow in terms of bowing with the whole bow. And I'm going to teach you some fractions that help me remember this relationship, and I actually learned them from my friend Virginia Hudson, who teaches cello at Meredith College. So we can all thank Virginia for this lesson. First, we're going to just start on the D string, and on the D string, I'm going to have you bow a third of your bow using your whole arm. So you can just kind of break the bow into thirds. I'll just do this visually with my finger. We're going to just break the bow into thirds. This third, and this third. So on the D string, you're going to bow with a third of your bow using your whole arm. And after a third, you're going to add elbow until you get to the tip. Then you're going to close the door, close your elbow until you get to that lower third, and then you use your whole arm to come to the frog. So I'll demonstrate that again without talking. And this relationship is so important because if we use the whole arm for the whole stroke, look what happens to my bow. It goes very crooked, so it's very important to add elbow. I'm actually opening my elbow when I'm adding elbow, but we don't want to just open the elbow because then the bow would go crooked in the other direction. So we want to continue with the full arm and just add elbow gently for the rest of the bow stroke. Now these relationships are pretty easy to remember because the G string is going to be the reverse of the D string. We're going to bow with our whole arm for 2/3 of the bow. And in the last third, we're going to add elbow, close elbow, bring the whole arm back to the frog. Notice at the frog on each string that I've always got this gentle bend in my wrist. That's really important. If I don't have that, my bow is going to be crooked in relationship to the bridge. Now on the C string, I'm going to wait until the last minute to open my elbow. I'm going to bow 3/4 of my bow length just with my arm, and I'm going to add that elbow motion in the last quarter of the bow. Open and close the elbow, bring the arm back in, and make sure your wrist is bent at the frog. On the A string, I'm just going to roll my heavy arm over to the A string. Remember, we always adjust the right elbow for whatever string we're on. We have to have a different height with our right elbow. And on the A string, my bend in my wrist is going to be the most open, the least bent on the A string. On the A string, that's easy to remember because that's the direct opposite of the C string. We're going to bow for 1/4 of the bow using our whole arm. And then pretty quickly, we're going to start adding elbow motion to make sure the bow stays parallel to the bridge. Close the elbow, and at the last quarter, bring the arm in. My wrist still has a bend in it. It's just not as significant as the bend on the lower strings. I'll do that one more time on the A string without talking. And that is how you're going to play with a beautiful bow stroke using your full bow on each string. and I hope that that was helpful for you. Make sure to practice these full bow strokes on your own and show them to your teacher, and make sure that you practice full bows when your teacher tells you that you're ready. That may be at the very beginning of your education, or it may be after a year, depending on what method your teacher uses to teach you. And I hope you found that very helpful.